If you think women are complicated, you're not wrong. But here's what most men don't realize. Science agrees with you. Over the years, actual laboratories have studied female behavior, desire, and arousal responses, not just through surveys or interviews, but through measurable biological reactions. And what they discovered may completely change the way you understand it. So, in today's video, we're diving into the 4 specific events that trigger the highest sexual desire in women, proven by psychological and biological research. If you're someone who values insight over guesswork, and you want to finally understand what really turns women on, stay till then. I promise you'll never look at attraction the same way again. And before we begin, if you love content that uncovers the truth behind power and emotional psychology, hit subscribe and become part of the dark psychology community. Also, check the description for my exclusive 7-hour course where I go into far more detail about these dynamics, the kind of stuff I can't share here on YouTube. Now, let's start with what researchers discovered first. The influence of steamy novels. If you remember the 50 Shades of Grey phenomenon, you already know how powerful imagination can be. Millions of women around the world suddenly found themselves captivated not just by the characters, but by how the story made them feel. Why? Because erotic storytelling activates the same neural pathways that govern emotional connection and physical arousal. David Boos, one of the grandfathers of evolutionary psychology, led multiple studies exploring how specific cues trigger female desire. His research revealed that reading or imagining in erotic scenarios increased desirable arousal, even without physical. So when women read vivid emotional scenes, when they feel tension, risk, dominance, surrender, their body reacts as if it's happening in real life. It's not the story itself. Thought turns them on. It's the emotion story creates: curiosity, suspense, danger, surrender, and connection. Think about that for a second. It's not always what a man does that excites a woman. It's what he makes her feel. That's why men who understand how to use words, men who know how to create tension, tease, and build anticipation, have a magnetic effect that goes beyond. When you're emotionally stimulate a woman's imagination, you're not just speaking to her mind, you're awakening her body's chemistry. Yes, gentlemen, the phrase talk dirty isn't just for the bedroom. It's a form of psychological foreplay. Most men are timid here. They don't know what to say or they fear sounding awkward. But truth is, it's about being confident, intentional, and emotionally charged. In fact, in my upcoming module on the language of desire, I'll show you the exact framework of how to use tone, pacing, and suggestion to trigger emotional arousal in a woman's mind long before anything physical ever happens. But for now, remember this: words can touch where hands cannot. So, after discovering how imagination and erotic storytelling awaken a woman's inner world, let's move into something far more primal, something that has driven female desire since the beginning of human civilization: attraction to power and fame. Here's the second cue, and trust me, it's one that most men misunderstand: power, status, presence. For centuries, men have noticed that women seem irresistibly drawn to men who hold power, whether that's fame, influence, or simply a commanding aura. But here's the truth: that's women aren't attracted to power in the superficial sense. They're attracted to the emotional experience that power creates. When a man walks into a room and every eye turns toward him, when he speaks and people listen, he radiates something that hits deep within the female savant: security and dominance. It's not just the celebrity effect, it's biology throughout evolution. A woman's survival depended on aligning with a man who could lead, protect, and provide, not just materially, but socially. Even today, her instincts still respond to that signal. It's why she can feel her pulse quicken when she sees a man on stage leading a crowd or simply taking charge with confidence. Think of that feeling when a man speaks with conviction, stands tall, and doesn't flinch under pressure. It's magnetic. That's why presidents, rock stars, CEOs, and even confident public speakers seem to ignite attraction that defies logic. You might have noticed it yourself: women screaming at concerts, obsessing over fictional characters, or admiring men who exude authority. This isn't gold again. It's an evolutionary signal. Her subconscious is saying, if he can't command others, he can protect me. I thus follow him. I can trust him. This is why even modern men like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, or charismatic public figures attract massive female followings. Whether women agree with their views or not, it's not always about what they say. It's about how they carry. It's the beauty and the beast dynamic. She's not just attracted to the beast. She's drawn to the idea that she might be the only one who can tame him. That's the emotional high. The fantasy of taming chaos, of winning the heart, of a man desired by many but owned by none. It's not arrogance that attracts her. It's the combination offer with self-control, power without desperation, leadership with apology. So, if you're watching this, don't chase validation, build value, because power and fame might start as external traits. But the deeper truth is this: a man who knows his worth radiates power from within, and that is kind of status that never fades. The power of dance and physical proximity. Now, let's move into the third cue, something far more physical, yet deeply psychological. Dance. Most men underestimate just how powerful physical closeness can be. Not necessarily sexual, but rhythmic synchronized connection. Researchers in Buss's studies found that dancing, even casual, slow, or playful, dramaticalizes a woman's sexual desire. And here's the secret. It's not about buying an expert dancer. It's about creating tension through closeness. When you dance with a woman, whether it's in adamantly lit kitchen, a slow song at home, or a crowded salsa bar, you're communicating without words. Every move says something primal. I'm in control, but I'm in tune with you. It's this unspoken synchronization that drives the feeling that her body and yours move as one. Naturally, effortlessly. Imagine holding her hand, spinning hers slowly, guiding her with calm authority. No words, no rush, just eye contact, rhythm, and energy. That moment of flow tells her subconscious everything it needs to know about you. Your confidence, control, and awareness. Dance isn't just movement, it's chemistry in motion, and it's a powerful way to break the touch barrier without forcing intimacy. You see, touch releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone that builds trust and attachment. That's why physical proximity, a gentle touch on her back, a whisper near her ear, or leading her confidently through a dance, can do more than hours of talking ever could. If you're dating, try this. Next time you're out, don't just sit across the table, find a place with music. Lead her into a dance, even if you're terrible at it, because in that imperfect, spontaneous moment, you're giving her something she craves but rarely admits. Emotional surrender. When I lived in Houston, I'd often see couples in country bars, laughing, spinning, stumbling, but completely lost in each other. Those few minutes of shared rhythm said more than any conversation ever could. So, if you want to connect with a woman's body and mind, remember, you don't have to impress her you just have to move with her energy. We've talked about fantasy, power, and physical closeness. But no, step into something deeper. This salon force that transforms attraction into connection. Because while lust might spark interest, bonding is what keeps desire alive. And this next cue is the one that separates a fleeting encounter from a truly magnetic connection. Emotional bonding and desire. Let's be honest. When most men hear emotional bonding, they roll their eyes. They think it means talking about feelings or losing dominance. But here's where science and experience prove otherwise. Emotional connection is one of the strongest triggers for female desire, not because it's sentimental, but because it activates her deep survival instinct, safety. In evolutionary psychology, a woman's arousal system is tightly linked to trust and comfort. She needs to feel that her guard can drop, that she's safe being seen, touched, and understood. Without that emotional foundation, even the most attractive man think of it like this. Lust opens the door, but emotional bonding keeps her inside. Researchers found that when women engage in emotionally not activities, meaningful conversations, shared laughter, vulnerability, their bodies actually release the same neurochemicals as during physical arousal. Her brain literally links emotional intimacy with physical desire. So, while most men try to seduce through technique, women fall for connection. If you're consistent, emotionally grounded, and genuine, her body starts to trust you, and that trust unlocks everything else. That's why the most powerful form of seduction isn't physical. It's because when a woman feels emotionally safe with you, her body wants you. The chemistry of desire. Let's talk science for a second, because your brain doesn't lie. During moments of physical closeness, cuddling, kissing, even gentle touch, the brain releases two key hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin is often called the it deepens emotional bonds, reduces anxiety, and creates feelings of comfort and belonging. Vasopressin, on the other hand, is the protective ending hormone. It's what makes men more loyal, and women feel more emotionally connected after intimacy. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. These chemicals don't just appear during sex, they're released through touch, laughter, even shared eye contact. That means you can literally build desire without rushing into anything physical. When you hold a woman, when you make her law, or when you create a calm, safe environment, her oxytocin rises, and as it does, she begins to associate that safety with you. That's why after intimacy, many women want to cuddle. Not out of neediness, but because their body craves more oxytocin to deepen the emotional link. It's biological. Her mind and body are merging experiences of love and pleasure into. But here's the dark side of that. When there's no emotional follow-through, that same chemistry can turn against you. A woman who feels used or emotionally unseen after sex experiences a chemical crash, cortisol spikes, oxytocin drops, and she begins to disconnect from the man entirely. That's why emotional detachment, after intimacy, often hurts her more than the act itself. So if you're a man watching this, understand when you touch her, your actions are communicating directly with her hormones. Touch is language, and women are fluent in it. The importance of a great kiss. Now let's move to one of the most underestimated yet powerful forms of connection, the kiss. It might sound simple, but according to research the mess in laboratory and studies published in Why Women Have Sex. Kissing plays a massive role in how women disadore to move forward sexually. Over 66% of women reported that a bad kiss made attraction evaporate instantly. That's because kissing isn't just physical, it's a biological test. When lips meet, over 100 billion sensory neurons send information to the brain. Taste, scent, texture, even subconscious indicators like pheromones and breath chemistry. It's nature's way of asking, are we compatible? A good kiss isn't about aggression. It's a booth rhythm, sensitivity, and awareness. It's the art of matching her pace, leading, but never overpowering. Think of it like a dance. You start slow, sense her breath, mirror her. It's not about perfection. It's about connection, because a great kiss tells her something powerful without words. You see me, you feel me, you're safe with me. That emotional safety doesn't kill desire. It ignites it. When she feels your calm confidence through something as intimate as a kiss, her brain floods with dopamine, lowering anxiety and increasing arousal. That's why women often describe a great kiss as irresistible, because what they're airily responding to is presence. If you want to improve this area, remember 1. Listen with your lips. React to her movements, her pace, her breathing, because kissing isn't it's a conversation made after. Isn't it fascinating? Every KUV discussed so far, from fantasy top power to physical closeness and emotional bonding, all share one underlying truth. Women don't just crave it, they crave connection that feels safe yet exciting, control mixed with surrender, mystery mixed with comfort. We've explored fantasy, power, touch, and chemistry. But now we elevate the final piece, the one that truly determines whether a woman's desire for you deepens or disappears. Because while physical attraction fades, emotional connection can create obsession. The emotional connection, here's the reality. Even the most successful, handsome, or dominant men struggle with emotional connection. They can attract women easily, but keeping them, that's a different story. And that's because attraction begins in theory, but connection happens in the mind. Studies show that a woman's brain lights up an entirely different region when she feels emotionally seen. When you engage her heart and mind, her body follows naturally. That's why you'll often hear women say things like, I didn't know why, but there's just something about him. That something is emotional resonance. The sense that you understand her in a world where most men in 3 stages of emotional connection. Emotional connection happens in 3 stages, and most men never make it past first one. Stage 1, consistency and emotional safety. Women begin to trust you when your words and actions match, when you're stable, not reactive. That consistency tells her subconscious, I can relax here. And relaxation is his foundation of arousal. Men often think they need to excite women 24/7. But here's the paradox. A woman can only fully surrender to desire when she feels emotionally safe. That's why reliability is the most underrated form of masculine elements. Stage 2. Time and presence. Most guys want to rush connection, but for women, desire grows with time spent in emotional presence. It's not about others, it's about quality. When she's speaking, do you listen? Do you remember what she said 2 days ago? That's not small talk. That's how trust is built. When you spend intentional time with a man, not just physical time, her mind begins to associate you with calmness, belonging, and comfort. That's when emotional safety turns into emotional attachment. Stage 3. Depth and curiosity. This is where true connection forms. When you start asking questions that go beyond the surface, the why behind her actions, beliefs, or dreams. You activate her deeper emotional world. When a woman says, I want to travel, most men nod or brag about their own experiences. But a man who asks, why do you want to travel? Invites her to open up her story, her past, her desires, and in that moment, you've separated yourself from 99% of men she's ever met. Because emotional depth is rare, and therefore unforgettable. Men usually operate in the realm of logic, the how. Women thrive in their realm of emotion, the why. When you learn to meet her in that emotional lung without losing your masculine frame, you create a balance that most relationships never achieve. That's the real meaning of being a high-value man. Not arrogance, not manipulation, but strength paired with awareness. The secret of lasting desire. When emotional connection and physical chemistry combine, something profound happens. True polarity. It's the balance of masculine energy that leads, protects, and grounds, with feminine energy that feels, nurtures, and, when both coexist, deseritos into spark, it sustains. That's why in long-term relationships, women often say, I don't just want him, I feel connected to him. That's when sexual attraction becomes emotional. The truth is, men and women are wired differently, but perfectly compatible when both sides understand their emotional codes. A woman's greatest turn-on isn't just confidence or dominance. It's emotional safety, consistency, and mystery, all wrapped in the presence of a man who knows who he is. That combination triggers her biology, her psychology, and her emotions all at once. And that's the sense of dark psychology. Understanding human behavior so duplicit attraction becomes effortless, not forced. So, let's recap. The four Qs that lead to sexual desire in women: Arion, erotic imagination, stories and words that awaken emotion. 2. Power and status, confidence that creates safety and awe. 3. Physical closeness, touch, movement, and sure. 4. Emotional connection, trust, and depth that ignite true desire. But here's the twist. All four of these have one thing in common. They require presence, not just physical but mental and emotional presence. Because in the end, attraction isn't about chasing women. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally pulls them in effortlessly, magnetically, subconsciously. If you made it this far, that already tells me something. You're not just curious, you want to understand people, power, and psychology on a deeper level.